What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Matty Ice here, back with another bass fishing video. Today we're talking hard baits, specifically for the state of Florida. So I've got 10 hard baits for you guys, so stick around. It's gonna be a good one. All right, guys, well, welcome back to the channel. We've got 10 hard baits for you guys today for the state of Florida. These are the 10 that you need to have in your tackle box. I know that Florida is one of those places where soft plastics rule, and don't get me wrong, soft plastics catch fish, and that's why we throw them. But I've got 10 baits that are hard baits that you need to have in your tackle box if you're gonna be fishing here in Florida. So before we get started in the video, go ahead and do me a huge favor. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button for me. Subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate it. We're getting super close to 1,000 subscribers. Once we do hit 1,000 subscribers, we will be doing a huge hot seat custom baits giveaway. So get subscribed to the channel so that way you can be entered into the giveaway. And don't forget to check out today's video sponsor, which is hotseatcustombaits.com. If you use my code Matty at checkout, you'll save 10% off of your entire order and get you some of the best soft plastics on the market, some of the best colors and the custom colors that you want and crave. We got you covered. So use my code Matty at checkout, save that 10%. And also, if you're in the Tampa Bay area and you're looking for a great bass club to join, check the link down in the video description, northtampabassclub.com. Send me a message on Instagram or even down a comment down below that you're interested in joining the club. We look forward to seeing you guys out on the lake. All right, guys, well, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Like I said, I've got 10 hard baits that you need to have in your tackle box if you want to catch Florida bass. These are not in any particular order, but they're 10 of my favorites. Like I said, soft plastics is one of those things that's like you just kind of get addicted to throwing because you have so much grass and so much cover. A lot of times hard baits with treble hooks just won't work. You just get caught up in the grass and you get frustrated, but I do have 10. Not all treble hook baits, but I've got 10 baits that you need to have in your box. That there are certain times of the year and certain times where they will rule over your soft plastics. So the first bait that I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite topwater baits on the market, and that is the Whopper Plopper. So this Whopper Plopper is the 90 size. You can throw bigger or even smaller if you want, but this one is I've found to be the perfect size for my fishing. I'm not even sure what the color is, but it's kind of a translucent color with a little bit of a mirrored inside that kind of shines. We've got some green on the top here, some scales, and we've got some chartreuse and some neon green under the chin. This is just a great bait. It's just a great bait to cover water with when you're searching for aggressive fish top water first thing in the morning. Throw this around lily pads, grass lines, you name it. This is a really, really good numbers bait as well as a big fish bait as well. The bass, when they get really aggressive, they will absolutely murder this thing. You won't have to worry about getting bad hook sets or anything like that because they will get attached. They hit it really, really hard. So first bait on the list you need is a Whopper Plopper. All right, guys, so sticking with the topwater theme, I've got another bait that's really kind of a legendary Florida staple. I don't throw this bait as much as I probably should, but if you'll talk to any of the old Florida bass pros, they're gonna tell you you gotta have one of these in your box, and that's the Devil's Horse. So this bait specifically is the original. This is the Smithwick Devil's Horse. Any type of double prop bait will work. So you get the prop on the front, the prop on the back. This works very similarly to like a topwater popper. You just throw it out there and you just give it little twitches and let it set. I'm not even sure what color this is, but we got a blue back, we've got silver on the sides and orange underneath. But this is kind of one of them slow retrieve baits that you just cast out there and then just twitch and let it set. And I don't have enough patience to throw this type of a bait a lot of times, but I do need to throw it more. But this bait works really well in those areas that fish are bedding. So the spawn season is probably the best time to throw this bait. That's kind of the season that we're in right now. But if you find an area that's got a lot of beds in it, you just throw this out there and let it set right over top of their beds and just give it a little twitch every once in a while and they'll come up and destroy this thing. So you gotta have the devil's horse, or AKA the prop bait. All right, so the next bait on the list, this is gonna be another topwater lure. This is gonna be one of those ones where you wanna cover a little bit more water, work a little bit faster. Gotta have a topwater walking bait. A lot of people like to throw spooks. This is actually the Strike King Sexy Dog. This is the full-size version with 3 treble hooks on it. This is your sexy shad color, but I mean, I don't think color matters that much, but this is one of my favorite baits. This is one of the easiest topwater baits to walk. And one tip for you guys, if you are struggling with learning how to walk a topwater bait, just put a split ring on right there, just a little split ring, and then you tie your Palomar knot or your loop knot, and you can get this thing to walk. I can get this to walk pretty fast, so you just get out in an area where maybe during the shad spawn, which happens right after the bass spawn, you just chuck this out there and walk the dog right back to you as fast as you can. This thing will get blown up on and destroyed. So the next bait you gotta have on your list is a topwater walking bait. All right, so the next bait on the list is not technically a hard bait, but it kind of is. But when you come to Florida, you gotta have one of these in your tackle box, and probably several of these, and that is a hollow belly frog. This is my favorite hollow belly frog right here. This is the Spro popping frog. This color is called red ear, so we've got a yellow bottom, kind of a brown, dark brown top, and you've got your little stripes on the sides. I mean, you gotta have a frog in Florida. It's the most funnest way in all of bass fishing to catch fish is with a frog. And again, you can throw this in the same areas that you threw one of the previous baits, that devil's horse. This is a good place to throw. You can throw these in little canals and stuff. But I mean, anywhere where you see lily pads and grass and some open little areas inside of the cover, a frog cannot be beat, because you cannot snag this thing up, and it's just very efficient running it through the heaviest, nastiest stuff. You're gonna use a big heavy rod with big heavy line, 50-pound braid plus, and then you just crack them and reel them in as fast as you can. But when you come to Florida, you gotta have a topwater frog. All right, so the next bait on the list is probably one of my favorite search baits to throw. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Florida, but again, I love throwing this bait. It's just a chuck and wind type of deal, and that's a spinner bait. That's a good old spinner bait here. This bait in particular is the OSP spinner bait. This is called the High Pitcher Max, I believe, High Pitcher Max, but this is just a shad color. You get a shad color, you get a white and chartreuse, you can get gold is a really good color for Florida waters. But silver and or gold, those are probably your 2 best deals, and maybe something with a lot of chartreuse in it, you know, when you have dirty water or whatnot. But this is just kind of a chuck and wind type of deal. I mean, this comes through cover really well. So grass, lily pads, it's even wood, it's kind of hard to get hung up. You don't lose that many of them, so it's a very efficient grass bait in Florida, and it does catch big fish, especially when you're in an area that's holding big fish. A spinner bait is a great bait to throw. It's efficient, it's fast, you can cover a ton of water. So this is what I use when I'm searching for fish, searching for aggressive fish here, is the spinner bait. So you gotta have some spinner baits in your box when you come to Florida. A great search bait. All right, so the next bait on the list, this is one of those ones that's you would think would be really difficult to catch fish with, as much grass that we have, because it is a treble hook bait. But that, you gotta have them in your box, because there are places where this bait will excel over any other types of hard baits, and that is gonna be the suspending jerk bait. This is one of my favorite jerk baits right here. This is the Mega Bass Vision 110. Any jerk bait will do. Colors, really just personal preference. I mean, this color is called, this is Wakasagi. So this is one of my favorite colors, but it's, it's a pretty clear, translucent bait. It's got some pearl and some purple and some brown in it, but it's mostly clear. You get in those areas where, let's say you're in 4 to 6 feet and you've got 2 feet of grass coming off the bottom. This bait is perfect for getting down into that middle space of the water column when you're jerking it, because it doesn't get too terribly deep, and you can keep that bait in the strike zone for longer. And this does catch big fish. You're in an area you see fish schooling and jumping up, chuck this baby out in front of them and let them smash it. but you gotta have some jerk baits in your box. Like I said, color is really personal preference. If you wanna keep it super simple, you're gonna have a shad color, you're gonna have a gold color for the golden shiners, and then you can have maybe something with some chartreuse in it, or maybe even a bluegill pattern. There's really only the 3 colors you need, but make sure that you have some suspending jerk baits in your box. All right, so the next bait on the list is gonna be one that's gonna be one of those ones where you kind of have to pick and choose where you throw it, because it is a treble hooked bait. It is a diving crankbait. This is a square bill crankbait. You just kind of have to be careful where you throw this because you can't go too deep. Same thing as the jerk bait that we just talked about. So as long as you have on your electronics where you have enough open water and enough to get your crankbait above the grass, you just kind of want to tick the grass 4 to 6 feet. This is kind of your perfect depth range of crankbait. You can also throw it near wood and around dog pilings and things of that sort. But having a square bill crankbait in your tackle box is going to be a must in Florida. You're not going to throw it everywhere, but you'll find places to where you can throw this bait, not get it all hung up and covered with grass. But again, it is a big fish bait and it will catch big ones. And that's what you want when you go to Florida, is to catch big bass. So don't forget to have some square bills in your tackle box. This is my favorite color here. This is a Ghost Gill. This is a Lucky Craft square bill. But you know, shad colors and bluegill colors and maybe even something gold for your golden shiners. Those are kind of the 3 main species of forage that we have here in Florida. So as long as you're matching one of those 3 colors, get you some square bills in your box, go catch you some big bass. All right, so the next bait in the box, again, another Florida staple. You gotta have these in your box when you come to Florida, and that's gonna be a lipless crankbait. Gotta have these. It's a great search bait, just like the spinner bait we talked about earlier. Same thing, get you 3 colors, get you a golden shiner color, get you a shad color, and then maybe even a bluegill tone. This is my favorite one. This is the Spro Uruku shad. This is the golden shiner color, so we've got gold sides. We've got a black back, and we've got an orange belly. This is one of my favorite baits. This caught me my first 6-pound bass ever on Lake Okeechobee. Just chucked it out into the middle of the rim canal and was ripping it off the bottom, and bang, 6-pounder won me big bass for that tournament. So again, I always have to have this bait in my box, but this one, you don't have to worry so much about the grass. As long as the grass isn't topped out, you actually want the lipless crankbait to be fished in the grass. So you want to put it in the grass and then snatch it out. So cast it into the grass that's down below the surface, almost kind of get it stuck, and then yank it out. And a lot of times the fish will come out and grab it when it comes right out of the grass. That's the best way to fish a lipless crankbait. You can also burn it if you want, which will catch fish, but you can also yo-yo it off the bottom like we just talked about. You can do a combination of both. You can also kind of drag this on the bottom like a jig or a worm. That works as well. A number of different ways that you can throw it. The grass doesn't matter. You actually want to throw this in the grass, so you got to have your lipless crankbaits. All right, so we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. We got 2 more baits for you. These are kind of exceptions to the rule. I know we said no soft plastics and hard baits only, but these ones, you might know where I'm going with this. They don't necessarily require plastics, but it helps if you have them. And that's gonna be a swim jig with a craw or a swim bait on the back. You gotta have a swim jig when you come to Florida. This is almost kind of like that 4x4 of bass fishing baits. And those are the best baits for Florida fishing because there's so much grass, so much cover, lily pads, you name it. This will come through it nice and easy. Very rarely ever get hung up. If you throw it in wood, you'll get hung up, but again, you can fish this with docks or anything, so it's just a great all-around, really versatile bait. You can get away with taking a swim jig, tying it on, and literally throwing it all day long and catch 5 big ones using a swim jig, okay? This is one of my favorites. This is the Dirty Jigs California swim jig with that beefy flip and hook on it. This is the bluegill color, and on the trailer is the Hot Seat Custom Baits Hot Wings Crawl. Has really awesome action to it. One of my absolute favorite baits to throw. I actually probably need to throw it more because, like I said, it is a very efficient bait. You're not worrying about a lot of grass and things of that sort. So really, really great bait to throw. Get you some swim jigs, put you some either a craw trailer on there or a swim bait trailer. All right, guys, well, last but certainly not least, this is probably, I would say, the most popular bait, not only just to throw in Florida, but also across the entire country. I mean, you guessed it, you probably figured out what it is, and that is the chatterbait. This is the Z-Man Evergreen Jackhammer. This is my absolute favorite colored chatterbait. This is Golden Shiner, and the secret to this bait is the trailer. This is the Gambler Little Easy, which is I believe it's a 3.75 inch swim bait. So it's kind of a small swim bait, but there's something that this little small swim bait does to this particular bait. Makes it just dart, and this is just straight retrieve. This is no rod twitching at all. This is literally just straight retrieving this bait. But the jackhammer is a big fish catching bait. It's a numbers bait as well. There are sometimes, anytime that if you go back and you look when the pros have their tournaments here in Florida, half the field they're throwing chatterbaits. They're sitting there just searching for fish, and they're catching numbers and big ones. Some of my biggest fish that I've ever caught in my life have come on a chatterbait. I've caught numerous 6-pounders, 6+ pounders on this bait specifically in this color. The other colors, again, we talked about earlier. So your golden shiners, your shad colors, chartreuse and whites, or green pumpkins, bluegill patterns. That's all you need for Florida. If you want to throw some red ones in there too, I know that red ones are really popular. I personally haven't had a ton of success on the red ones, but again, the two that I throw the most, this is the golden shiner color and my favorite of the chatterbaits. All right, guys, well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up today's video. If you like today's video, please hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. We've got some big tournaments coming up here real soon. The spawn is upon us, so we should be catching some big bags here, hopefully, fingers crossed. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.